Evening, everybody. Welcome to our third podcast from ISTR. Today is June 13th, 2018. For those of you tuning in for the first time, ISTR, International Cyclone Typhoon Registry, organization that is focused on the accurate history, preservation, technical information, and data collection for the 91 to 93 GMC Syclone, Typhoon, and Sonoma GT sport trucks. Tonight's episode, we're going to discuss some of the wilder things that we've done either in our trucks or at events, or sometimes the stupider things that we've done with our trucks or at events, and some of the stories and things that are attached to all those. Before we get started on tonight's topic, just want to let everybody know that if you have placed an order anytime prior to today, basically, those items should hopefully be shipping out, whether it be build sheets or membership packages or just a t-shirt, stickers, anything like that should start hopefully sending this week. We are expecting the cards early next week if you did order a membership. So as soon as we have those in hands, those packages will get completed and shipped out, and hopefully everybody will start seeing those items shortly. So if you do have any questions, obviously you can always reach us through Facebook or anything else that you need to communicate with us. And with that, we're going to take some of your comments first from our question that we had posted on Facebook earlier about what's the craziest or dumbest thing you've done in your SyTy or at a SyTy event. So I think we're going to turn the camera over to Tom and we'll start reviewing some of those. We'll start with the viewer comments first tonight.
First comment was by Ian Bokish, who tried to do a boost launch, lost his brakes, and almost died. Losing brakes under a boost launch. Definitely pushed through them. I remember lost brakes.
Yeah, I've pushed through them a couple times.
Yeah. Losing brakes during a boost launch has got to be pretty interesting.
How about when you lost your ABS? Does anybody remember that?
Yeah, I was going to comment. I think everybody can probably make a comment about the craziest thing they've done, maybe trusting the ABS to actually stop them in time of emergency or at a slick road surface.
You know, I always skirted that by going one way or the other. The early trucks I owned were new enough and low mileage enough where the ABS wasn't a problem. And then later I just yanked them all out before they ever became an issue. So I never really ran into the problem.
Yeah, I've definitely experienced the ABS failure on not only SyTys but some other vehicles, and I've just got lucky enough to where it kicked in, but it really wasn't necessary. You know, you're either going slow on a grassy surface or slick surface, snow, whatever else, but it really wasn't putting in any other danger or anything like that. So, but it definitely sucks.
Yeah, it definitely sucks. And an interesting tidbit of where most accidents happen because of the ABS failure on the SyTy. Maybe we should have saved that for another discussion.
Yeah.
I've seen a pattern over the years of where most of them get hit, and the only thing we can think of is that the one of them fails first and grabs that brake.
Yeah.
So the next comment, actually, ironically, is you, Morgan.
Yeah, we can come back to that later.
Oh yeah, you don't want to get into that?
No, I'll lump all mine together because I've got plenty of them.
You got a lot of them, huh?
Yeah, keep going.
Graham Snyder, drive a freshly built, untested motor for 8 hours on the way to Carlisle.
Yeah, and I think who commented on that one, basically saying they did the same thing, but it was only 4 hours.
Yeah, James Trafton last year or a couple years ago.
Oh yeah.
Drove in 4 hours. I don't think his truck was running like 24 hours before the event.
Yeah, I know he was working on it pretty diligently before he left, and then basically got it to the point where it was drivable and wouldn't hurt itself, and then entrusted Harmon to help him finish tuning it out when he finally got to Carlisle.
Yep, I remember that. Man, you know what? Now that I think back, there's a lot of those. I remember Damien did a whole bunch of mods to tow his truck out to the Chicago Nationals in 2002. The truck that they were towing with broke, so they ended up just getting in the Syclone and driving it 10 hours.
Yeah, I mean, going along with that story, that just made me think of it. Well, another really crazy thing was with Pete's Syclone that they towed out. Yeah, Pete Humble Eyes' Syclone that they towed out to Chicago in '02, where he was having trouble spooling it. So I think it was like Friday night, whatever the night was before we went to the track. They brought it to, I think it was Max's garage that was out there. And I forget what vehicles he usually primarily dealt with, but they ended up throwing a nitrous kit on it in his shop the night before to help it spool up off the line. And unfortunately, I think one of the solenoids was faulty or whatever, and then ended up cooking the head gaskets going at a track because it wasn't adding enough fuel. But or it ran lean or did whatever. But that was a pretty wild attempt to fix a problem with some spray to try and get out of the hole and run 10s or 9s or whatever he was shooting for. That truck was pretty built. I know that. So
that actually is the genesis of my part or my contribution to the dumbest shit we've ever done. So I'll loop back to that later, but nitrous has got a theme in this, it seems like.
You know what? I was thinking about that theme. Didn't Harmon do something similar, trying to run 10s on code 59? Didn't put nitrous on it, but I know they were going really aggressive and ended up putting a hole in the upper intake.
When you find the AFR limit of your truck, that's an interesting time. Which I think most of us have done or know somebody that did, kind of pull a roadkill moment and just throw it together to try and get to an event or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So having faith in that is pretty stupid.
Yep.
what else we got?
Let's see. The comment I think everybody want to put on there. Michael Breen drove it and it didn't break down.
Yeah.
But see, I have a little beef with that comment because I've daily driven a bunch of them and we still do to this day.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if anybody saw our Facebook story today, that Zane drove his all day. I did 10 different stops and about 140 miles today in the shop truck. And just picking up stuff, making deliveries, parts store, just all across town, everything. And it's like, that's a pretty normal occurrence. So I don't know.
Yeah, I think Dave Perry might have some argument with that too.
Yeah, Dave
multiple trucks coast to coast.
Yeah. Uses his truck to commute coast to coast.
Yeah, I mean, from California to Florida, California to Connecticut.
Yep.
You know, and everywhere in between, and multiple different trucks too. It's not even like the same one that he's, you know, tried and true. I mean, he's gone through everything, obviously, but you know, he's done it in multiple trucks, multiple times.
Yeah.
And I took mine Jersey to Chicago, Jersey to Kansas City, Jersey to you know, multiple trips back to SyTy Nationals from New Jersey with minimal preparation other than normal checklist type stuff. So
checklist and maintenance.
Yeah.
That was about it.
You could draw a line with how reliability drops as tinkering increases.
Yeah, you know what? I was just gonna say that we should definitely have a dyno chart, so to speak, of reliability versus horsepower and modifications. But I would say even with that, I think there's got to be a third axis that's dollars spent. Because the truck I drove today, it's a built motor, built tranny. It's it's L35 heads and the whole nine, and it runs like a top. But yeah, dollars and parts spent were not thrown together. You know, the Steve Morris came and the Innovators West $600 harmonic balancer and all that shit because I wanted it to be reliable, but comes at a cost.
20 years ago, we had no clue. Everybody was doing their own thing. There was no pattern to what to do or what not to do, so to speak.
Yeah, that definitely had a lot to do with it, I think. So, Jesse Dreyer ran from the cops, speeding, which we've all done. Abused the hurt stock engine and drove it in a foot of snow, thinking all-wheel drive would prevail.
I know they'll go through 9 inches a foot. I guess that other 3 is what breaks it.
You know what? I will also comment on that. Depends on the tires.
Yeah.
If anybody saw our pictures from Pink Panther last winter, 2 winters ago when we drove that thing was haggard, but it had 15-inch, 215 width or 195 width snow tires.
Yeah.
And I drove it through a blizzard. There was literally 1.5 foot of snow on the expressway. It was me and the snowplows.
Yeah, and not to play devil's advocate here, but it also depends on the kind of snow you get. I mean, if it's super cold and you get that light powdery stuff, that's no match to the it snowed 1.5 feet at 31 degrees and it's super wet, heavy, dense packed snow. That's a little less forgiving.
Yeah. It was less forgiving on the cladding. I literally wasn't cleaning off the windows. I was using the snow brush to take the slush out of the flat surfaces of the cladding because I could see the rockers sagging from how much snow had piled up into them. I was like, oh, I don't want to fix that. So I was stopping periodically to clean the slush out of the rockers and the rear corners.
Nice.
Oh, let's see what else we got. Brian Backstrom, licensed my Ty for 1 day in the winter so I could do donuts in the grocery store parking lot.
Yeah, I like that one.
Yes, me too. I'm like, that's a lot of effort, and kudos to that. Dewey Horseman, whipping shitties in the field after I took a corner too fast and went off the road. It was winter in the middle of nowhere and probably wouldn't have passed the field sobriety test. That was 1991. Wow, right out of the gate. Just said it.
Getting it done.
Mm-hmm.
Still got a warranty. Do it.
Yeah. Sean Morris, I've done a few things, and he posted a video. I have not. Oh, Syclone donuts.
Yeah, that was early Nats. I'm guessing.
That was 99.
99?
Yeah, the figure eights. Is that the figure eight?
Yeah, he did multiples going through up and back through a parking lot. So
99 or 2000. I can't. It might have been 2000 when Adam and Ian hosted it, but it was around that.
Yeah, I figured that's when it was from. So yeah, that's a good video to watch. So for those of you that are on the Facebook page, find that thread and go through it, and you'll get a bunch of other SyTy videos along with it too. So
those are old school videos. Those are like,
yeah, that's.
We had video cameras back then.
Yeah, I was gonna say everybody was probably taping them onto actual tapes and then converting it to digital.
Yeah.
Cell phones were either bricks or flips.
Or bags.
Actually, yeah, a lot of Typhoons had them in bags with the antenna sticking out the window.
Oh, you were balling if it was mounted on the side.
Oh, yeah. And for the guys now that wonder where the 4 screws came on their center console.
Yep.
That's what it's.
A couple consoles like that.
Yep.
Yeah, and who all got a head unit in a truck that came with a remote and actually used it in a Syclone or Typhoon? Because you can reach the glove box from the driver's seat.
I did because I'm lazy. I do the lean and just keep the remote in the right hand and just flip through. The one that I liked, I never had a head unit like that, but it was like it was almost like a wired remote that you mounted somewhere else. Did you ever see those?
Mm-hmm.
I've seen them in some vehicles, back from that 90s, 2000 era where, it was almost like a wired remote that you ran down your console, or I guess you could put up, theoretically, I don't know how well it would work on a steering wheel, but somewhere where you kept your hand and you could just flip through it, had a select knob and whatever else, and you could scroll through your songs that way, I guess. But those seemed kind of silly.
Far cry from app radio.
Yeah.
Yeah, back when you had to pre-burn CDs and load them in a changer.
Oh, so many CD stacks in Typhoon.
Yeah.
That was like a big deal. Then if you had an MP3, oh man, you were rolling. You were ready to go for the road trip.
I still rock the MP3. I don't care what anybody says.
I put a Apple CarPlay compatible head unit in the Typhoon, and that thing's magic. I remember having to go to meets and printing out the MapQuest, trying to figure out where we had to go. So,
or having an Atlas.
Oh yeah, fuck yeah! You had to have the Atlas.
Yeah,
know where the fuck you're going sometimes.
Exactly.
Especially if you're going to a meet and going to a drag strip, like Milan in Michigan. It's in the fucking middle of nowhere.
We left Chicago and went to Wisconsin, and I think the first 2 people in line knew where to go, and everybody else just followed. God forbid we got separated.
Well, yeah, you didn't. You just red lights didn't matter. You just went because you weren't going to lose the path of people.
Yeah.
Yeah, going to the track in Wisconsin could be another dumb story for me too. That just made me think of another one.
Tell it. Tell the story.
Well, in convoy, I think actually Adam was behind us. I don't know if it was Adam and Ian. I think they both might have had their trucks that year. I don't recall. But I was in front of them, and my buddy Dan had come out with me that year, and we were driving to the track, and you know, it's open country. I mean, 2-lane blacktop, nothing really going on. So my truck happened to have a sunroof in it. So we set cruise control, and I basically stood up and turned around and started taking pictures of everybody behind us while the truck's going down the road. And my buddy Dan was just leaning over, steering, making sure that, you know, it didn't veer off anywhere. But, you know, not the stupidest thing in the world. I mean, you know, it was just one of those things that, hey, opportunity strikes and you just do it. So nowadays, if, you know, something were to happen, I'm sure somebody else would have had a phone already recording that, waiting for some dumb shit to happen, and it would have ended up on YouTube, Facebook, everything else in the world, and it would have gone viral, and I'd probably be dead. So, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it just made me think of that when you mentioned the trip to the track up in Wisconsin there.
Yeah. That was when the Chicago Nats, when the 2 Marlboros raced each other.
Yeah. Yep. And that was also the same one with Pete with his nitrous.
Yep.
And also Mikuletzky was there too with his truck.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Mike. There was a lot. That was a big event. There was a lot of people there. Tommy Argy brought his Marlboro from Florida to Chicago. Marty had his Marlboro at the time, and both of them were in the parking lot. And I remember just looking out the hotel room, and just the entire parking lot was SyTys, and I thought it was like the coolest thing ever.
Mm-hmm.
And Morgan was parked on the island, the grass in the island between all the parking spaces.
Yep.
With the Bring It license plate.
Yep.
Like, oh, that's that guy.
Still got that picture somewhere. Somebody took one from one of the hotel rooms.
And it's actually like a 4x6 picture.
Yeah, probably. Or it was, and we had to scan it in and make it digital.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of that, I did find a folder a few months ago of pictures from Nats 99, 2000, 2001, all that. I was like, man, we used to have to go get this film printed.
35 millimeter.
Yeah, you hoped you got it right. You get it, you go, crap.
Yep. Or you take like 6 just to make sure.
Yeah.
I couldn't do that. Film was expensive, dude.
And then when you got them developed, you're like, well, I got 6 different pictures 12 times.
Yeah, 1 inch off.
Oh, man.
What else we got going on there? I was looking as well. Ryan Pope had a good one. 10-pound launch with a fountain Coke in the cup holder because she was next to an LT4 vet that revved on him, and then they proceeded to take off like a 90-year-old woman.
Yep. You know, it's the one thing I will say is those cup holders were definitely not made for fountain drinks, but I feel like fountain drinks have just gotten progressively larger. Because back in the day, you could fit a fountain drink in there and it would stay. Now you got to keep your hand on it if you're using that cup holder.
Now it's the bottom 3 inches that fit in the cup holder, and it's
and it's top heavy.
Yeah.
So, you know, similar story I have for that launch. I had some friends that were into like track cars. One of them had like a Porsche and whatever, and I had my Syclone, and it was stock, but it was fierce. It was a strong truck, and we'd all gone to dinner. And went to leave, and he lines up next to me with his BMW. And he rolls down his window. He's like, I know I probably don't got anything, but I'm still going to go for it. And the kid with the Porsche was in the truck, and I had my sunglasses on the cup holder. So I launched it at like 5 pounds, and the sunglasses flew up from the cup holder, hit the back window, and fell behind the seats. And the guy was like, "What the hell was that? Did you just break your truck?" I'm like, "Oh, that was just sunglasses. By the way, they're still at the light, and we were like quarter mile down the road. He hadn't even left the intersection yet." Great.
I had one in college. I was in a park, or I had gone to a gas station, went inside, got a drink, like a bottle drink, and there was a pretty girl in the parking lot, and I hopped in the truck, cranked it up, was going to show off, had the passenger window down, and I had the wheel like full lock to the left. And just, I didn't like floor it, but I nailed it, and the drink flew out the window, and I was too embarrassed to like stop and get it. So I basically went to the gas station, bought a drink, and threw it in the parking lot.
The fact that you got it out the window.
Yeah, the window was down, and it made a perfect beeline to it.
I don't think you could try. You know, we should have that. Like, if you know, remember we used to do the dumb Olympics at the Nationals. Yeah. That could be an Olympics event. Like, if you could launch your truck and get the bottle to go out the window.
If you haven't launched your truck at a 90-degree, it is. I've done it twice, and it is an eerie thing to do because it's very unsettling because it actually has plenty of traction and it goes like stink. But man, it does not feel normal.
No, especially with the wheelbase being so short, you just feel like it's gonna flop over.
Yeah.
That's great. Ted Bauer, en route to SyTy Nats 11, made it to the top of Pikes Peak, then proposed to my wife. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, what's crazy right there?
Yeah, just the truck made it up the top of Pikes Peak is impressive.
I was gonna say getting married, but
I wasn't gonna go there, but I mean, yeah,
Sean Morris commented again at the first Nats. Andrew Swartz and himself, followed by the police.
Yeah,
I remember seeing all those pictures.
They came rolling in with cops behind them, and the cops were super cool.
I didn't realize that was at the first Nats. I've seen the pictures, but
I don't remember who it was. I think it was at an event or something where somebody got pulled over, and I think it was on the forums. The story was on the forums, or I can't remember for the life of me who it was. But basically, he got pulled. Like, I think he was speeding or doing something dumb. Cop pulls him over. He's like, "Do you know why I pulled you over?" And he looked at the cop and says, "Because you wanted a closer look at the truck."
That's a good
response.
Yeah, I don't think it'd go over very well these days, but I remember that being the story, and it was like, wow, that's bold and awesome. Jason, I bought one. Yep, I think all of us belong to that crazy club. That's like the foundation of crazy. You bought one of these.
Yeah.
That was the neat thing about early nationals is you would see so many different people, and you would go, but we all, for some reason, gravitated these trucks. Like that was the common denominator. No matter how radically different you were, you somehow found some common ground to that. And it was weird to see that, you know, from the Adam Ribakoffs to the straight laced guys from the Midwest or whatever.
You know, that's the you know, and I guess we'll get on the soapbox for a minute, but like that's, you know, when we all started this ISTR thing, it was like to try to bring back that sense of community because the national events and like they would draw so many and from so many walks of life, but we all had that common thread. And from the first one I bought, from people that were hugely successful and had wicked car collections to the guys that just thought it was a cool truck, and you know, to people who would daily drive them. And it was like everybody still liked that wolf in sheep's clothing. It's something different. Like we all had this commonality. There was like this unwritten, understood commonality that attracted all of us to these trucks, you know. And going back to like our first podcast, you know, some of us are, you know, 15, 20 years in, and we still get that stupid, giddy feeling, you know. When we put that turbo on Harmon's truck, and here's a guy that was running nines in a you know, 33,000 pound Syclone, and every time that turbo was spooled, he would just giggle like a schoolgirl. I'm like, you've been doing this for 20 years, you're still laughing. He's like, I love this stupid thing. And like we all still have that. So
if you don't launch one for a while and then you do, it brings back a lot of memories.
Yeah. Not even launching one. Like I was just driving today. This STI comes up near me, and we're merging through traffic, and I was just pedaling it, and then it just spooled up and just took off. And the kid was looking at it like, "What the hell is that thing?" And it just made me laugh again. It's like, yeah, this is why I still drive one. You know, it's just a 25-year-old Blazer, but I don't care. It's fun as shit. So, Noel and Gary Linder. Yeah. When you put your Syclone in a barn and chain it and then fill it with smoke, and that's followed up earlier that same day. This guy took the prop shaft out of that truck and couldn't get the bolts loose, so he cut the prop shaft off with a die grinder. Then got the bolts out and put on a shitty set of rear tires and literally did rolling burnouts past his barn for about 2 hours straight. And then later went and filled the barn with smoke.
We had a
put the prop shaft back in.
Yeah, I think that video is all-wheel drive, right? He's doing an all-wheel drive burnout.
Yeah, I'm assuming so.
Changed it to his tractor, I think, and then did that.
We had a dyno day in Atlanta back in like 2000 or 2001, and everybody took the front shaft out, did the dyno, and after that, they immediately had to make a pass in front of the dyno shop, go out there and just floor it. And there was one guy that was a stud. I can't remember his name now, but he can handle it like a pro. And come to find out, he had daily driven like a 454 SS for a few years. It was like, yeah, you've had plenty of practice.
Mark, I can never pronounce his last name. Fuller, I don't know. Mark from Chicago. Yeah, Carlisle last year. Yeah, he rolled out on this hill, didn't see the truck slowing down to the top of it, like just over the crest. And I think that was on the way to dinner, so that made for interesting dinner chat. Because he almost created like a 10 truck pileup.
Nice.
There's one on YouTube chat. So I would like to add to what Ian said. It was Christmas Eve. He was boost launching down a hill towards an intersection when his brakes went out. I ended up running home about half a mile to our house to get my car to chase him home. I almost got backed over by the side because of no brakes. Had to hold the Syclone by the tailgate when we went to pull into the garage so it didn't smash that into the back of the garage.
I can just picture it like them grasping onto the tailgate, just like trying to hold her back. Oh, yeah, I can hold this truck. I got it. Jeremy Duncan, more Kansas City Nationals antics.
Yeah, that was the Jeremy Duncan's, I think, was the first 4 EDE swap that was done.
Mm-hmm.
And he took out the editor for GM High Tech at the time that had come out for the event. And I was there. I didn't go see it, but I know they went to a parking lot that was adjacent to a hotel, and you could just hear just the burnout echoing off of the building and just bouncing around. And then they came back, and I mean, you could just smell burnt rubber just as the truck rolled in. And I forget what Scott had said as he hopped out of the passenger seat, but he kind of had a big old grin on his face for one thing, and I'm sure it was a ride that he probably hasn't forgotten about.
And Duncan, if you're watching, I won that go-kart race in 2000. There was some debate about that, but I won.
13 years later, still holding on to it.
Yeah. Overdue rematch for sure.
You know, while we're on the topic of Jeremy Duncan, I see you posted the stock turbo record saga. And I remember, I don't know if it definitely fits in the criteria of crazy, the effort that went into making that truck do what it did.
Yeah.
You know, I can't count how many times I've watched that video with him, Jeff Scott, and forgot who else, where they left for 3 trucks, 1 broke, then the second one broke, and then there was guys in the bed of the Syclone, and they still got to the track and still went and ran, you know, that and the shit everybody would do just to run the numbers or to get them go faster. And you know, and I mean, I remember talking to Jeff Scott about like how many turbos they went through and the Code 59 tuning and, you know, downpipe designs and shit just to do that, you know.
But
so
you look at some of the stuff we did back in the day, like porting and polishing the stock intercooler, and you look back now and you're like, God, what misspent time we had. You know, I mean, like you think of it now, all the upgrades that are available to us, and And it just seems like ill-spent time back then.
Well, I think everybody had a little bit more time to spend.
Yeah.
You know, and it's funny because I just told this story to the guys in the shop yesterday. We're putting a motor in a Syclone that's right over there, and we're Cerakoting the exhaust manifolds and the turbo. And I'm looking at the manifold, and I'm looking at the flange and the diversion in it, and how we used to knife edge them so that way we'd get better spool up and less turbulence coming into the turbo from that. And I still do it on builds. I still do it to trucks. And I'm like, man, back in the day to get the free horsepower, we'd pull the turbo off and knife edge that like it was like step one.
Yeah.
Knife edge that, bell mouth the inlet of the turbo, you know.
Put an airfoil in.
What's that?
Put an airfoil in.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I remember even the guys that would take the stock intercooler off, take out the or cut off the end tank, and then weld on a bigger inlet or correct the angle if they had an aftermarket turbo.
Yep.
A bigger turbo, correct the angle so you didn't have such a sharp bend, and then, you know, take it all back together and slap it on there, powder coat it, whatever they did, spray paint it, and, you know, to anybody looking at it, you wouldn't know any different unless you owned one.
And it's still trying to breathe through stock heads.
Yeah. Yep. And then the whole L35 thing and Vortec thing, and, you know, it's a whole nother story.
We did a test, and I guess this could be one of my dumb things that I did, but to try and figure out what pressure differential between the front and rear tires was best for the transfer case. And I would go to a sign. I did this back way early in ownership. I raised the fronts to like 44, lowered the backs to like 34, and would go to a sign, let off at the exact mile per hour, and see what mile per hour I was at when I coasted by like a second sign. And I repeated that test with a mobile air compressor probably 20 times and finally found exactly which one had the least resistance. I remember getting that, and I was like, what do I do with this now? I'm not going to drive with this pressure differential. Because it was somewhat drastic.
I mean, I can remember doing something similar, not so much with air pressure. I kind of just, you know, went with whatever and sent it. I was never really so much worried about the front pressure, obviously just because of the weight transfer, but the rears, I remember going to the track with rolling out there with the ZR1s in the back with the 315s on it, and then I would bring a stock set of tie wheels with you know, a drag radial or whatever that was stock size, so it was comparable to the front ratio, which still had a 275 on it. But I would go to the track and I would run down the track and see what my 60 foots were, come back, change the tires, or change air pressure, run it again with the same tires, then switch tires, then try different air pressures in the rear, and I would still pull the same 60 foots as I would with a 315, as I would with a skinnier drag radial. Didn't really make much of a difference, honestly. So,
what question was your truck stock when you did that?
Yeah, pretty much still, mostly stock. That was way early on as well. So on a modded truck, maybe it makes a bigger difference. Take advantage of a stickier tire, but yeah, on a stock truck there really wasn't much difference. I was still pulling 177s easy with a regular radial, not even a drag radial. I always
did it with a radial. And Damien too. When we go to the track more often, we'd get down to high 1.5s, low 1.6s on stock size radial tires.
Yeah.
So like everybody, yes, it looks cool with a 275 and a 315 for sure, but drivability and actual hookup, I prefer, the smaller tires. But anyway. What else?
It's good. We don't
get off topic.
Yeah, do we want to break into some of our own dumb crap and come back with some comments?
And I see more people are commenting, so keep the comments coming. But yeah, Morgan, you wanna give us that story of how you made your truck a 4x4?
All right. Well, the mud thing, I don't classify as stupid by any means, and I definitely still don't have any regrets by any account. it was fun, and the whole reason behind it was that was actually at S Series Nationals, I think 2004, which ended up being a week after SyTy Nationals, basically in the same city. And I just stayed over. I don't even remember if that was the year that I ended up staying at Ted Bauer's house one year. I basically crashed on his couch at his parents' place for the week in between, and then ended up going to S Series Nationals as well. But obviously, being there early, there was about a dozen of us or so that were there Thursday night for the Friday, Saturday, Sunday show. And that night, well, first of all, they had rented out an entire field next to an Air Force base somewhere out there, and the field, was I forget how far off the roadway or how deep off the roadway it was, but it was a pretty good distance. And that Thursday night, they ended up getting like something like 4 inches of rain in whatever amount of hours. So everybody that parked out in the field on the other side, away from the road, where everybody had their tents up so they wouldn't get road traffic or road noise as they were trying to sleep, had their trucks pretty much parked next to their tents. And, the whole field turned into a giant mud pit. So even if you were just trying to leisurely drive from the back of the field back out to the road, you were slinging up mud and dirt and whatever else, even though it was a grass field. Everything was just so soft. So by the time I had gotten out to the road, the truck had a fair amount of mud on it. It wasn't anything crazy. And at that point, somebody commented about that it was all-wheel drive and go out and do whatever. And I was like, all right, I don't see why not. And so I think I had 3 or 4 other people in the truck, and we went out and just blew a bunch of donuts for a while. And the ironic thing about that was my Typhoon and a guy from, I think he lives in Texas, Ken, he had a lifted 2-wheel drive 4-door Blazer. His truck and my truck, I think, were the only ones that drove out in the mud all weekend and didn't get stuck. There were 4x4s that were getting stuck, and obviously there's a bunch of lowrider stuff that never even attempted it. But for the trucks that did go out there, I think his and mine were the only ones that didn't get stuck all weekend. That was kind of ironic. But fortunately, there was a power wash, no touch car wash deal, no less than a 2-minute drive from where this field was, and we messed that place up. There was probably more mud in that no touch car wash than there was in the field by the time we were done that weekend. So that's that. I mean, and the truck, washed the truck up. When I got it back home, I put it up on stands. I blew out the hole underneath of it, anything that still remained. And I think it was a month or 2 later, I went out to Indianapolis for the truck bash they did out there. And I think I won 2nd or 3rd place in my, my show field, after doing all that. And, so it wasn't no big deal. Mud wipes off. So that's that. And, I did run down a couple things. I mean, obviously there's always that speeding thing when you shouldn't, and, doing donuts in the snow and whatever else. I think my dumbest thing that I ever did, I don't remember if it was the same year. I think it was the following year at SyTy Nationals. S Series Nationals was, I just had the trans redone again, and the converter had gotten restalled, but they did it too tight. But unfortunately, I didn't have enough time to send it back, get it restalled, put it back in the truck, and actually make it out for the trip. So I ended up just leaving it in there, drove out, and obviously we went out to the track, and I'm pretty sure it was KCIR still. And unfortunately, that's no longer there, but it was hot as balls. Nobody was running any numbers that they thought they should, and I was running even slower because of this goddamn converter that wouldn't allow me spool up and launch. I think I was doing like 2 1s or 2 3s or something like that, 60 foots. I just couldn't get any power out of the friggin' hole, and it wouldn't pick up till way later in the track. And my trap speeds were good, but my ETs still sucked, and I couldn't even break 13s all friggin' weekend. So finally, at one point, I was almost hot lapping it. I want to say I was just pissed off. So I think it was my last run of the day. I just matted it, and I had it wasn't Diacom. What came after that? Data Master.
Data Master.
Data Master open with the large knock window that you can enlarge, so your whole screen lit up red or pink or progressively as you would get into knock. And it was almost like the stupid Fast and the Furious scene where they're doing danger to manifold. Yeah. I'm just on it, and I'm not letting up because I'm not leaving until I get a 12-second slip because, you know, everybody, I was just pissed off more at the truck than anything. So I'm just on it, and the screen's red, and I'm blowing through the traps, and I get my ticket, and it was a whopping 12.9. So I was like, at least I broke in the 12s. You know, the truck should have been a lot faster than that. And so I go back, and I'm going through the data log, and through the traps, it was at 12.9 degrees of knock. And the injectors were running at 132% duty cycle.
Gee, I wonder why you had knock.
So, but, you know, the motor was fine. I drove it for a number of years after that. And I mean, I drove it home from Kansas City after doing that, and
it's fine.
It's fine. I never had any issues with it. That's the one thing I never had to touch on that was the motor. I blew 5 trans, but motor I never touched. I never even had the valve covers off until after I pulled the motor out of that truck and I redid the valve stem seals and freshened it up and stuff like that. But I still never pulled the heads. So that's a good motor. But that was the dumbest thing I ever did, was just freaking hot lapping it at like a 100-degree track day in the middle of fucking Kansas. Just to get a time slip that still sucked.
Oh, the things we do.
Yep. So that's definitely the dumbest thing I've done. Everything else is fun.
How about you, Hood?
The dumbest thing I was a part of was in 2001 Nationals. That was Great Bend. That was right after 9/11, so the attendance was way down. And we had taken John's green gray Typhoon out there, and he had just he'd sent a manifold off to NOS and had them put in port nitrous, and hadn't really run it. We decided to run it out there for the first time, and I guess I was the pre-appointed tuner, and we nuked that thing, like doing test runs next to the track, didn't even get on the track, and changed head gaskets in the parking lot. And that was by far the dumbest thing I was a part of, because we basically missed the entire damn event to change head gaskets on a truck, and it still didn't even run a decent number. I mean, it was basically a 10-second truck, and we were running like 11.8, 11.9, so it was very disappointing. But the dumbest thing on my specific truck was I had just gotten it, and it had just a bleed valve for boost control, and had an ATR turbo. I don't remember which one or anything about it, but it had an external gate on it, and a buddy of mine was riding with me, and I don't remember what it was. It was getting knock or something, and I told him, I said, turn the boost all the way down. I popped the hood, just turn the boost all the way down, and he turned it the wrong way, and we launched it right after that, and it destroyed that truck. I mean, it nuked every color smoke came out of it, and I remember thinking, never trust your buddy who knows dick about cars to do anything. that was my dumbest mistake.
Oh,
Tom, you got any dumb personal stuff other than buying like 47 of them?
Yeah,
I will stick to that one.
All right. And
yeah. What me and Harmon figure that between the two of us we've owned over 100?
Yeah, it's got to be.
Yeah. I think that between the two of us we're over 100 trucks. Yeah. I think I'm gonna leave that as the dumbest. Just a sprinkling of dumb shit in between all of that. Either leading up to purchasing that many trucks or after owning so many trucks. It just blends all together.
How many caps and rotors have you changed, Tom?
4. I don't know. So many that we have our own spark plug wires now because I got sick of getting them from other places. Oh, shit. Yeah. So just a flood of stuff because I'm just going like truck by truck, and I'm like, yeah. You know, okay, I'll put this story comes to mind. the Syclone we were talking about, the really strong truck, it was so nice and so clean that Hemmings Muscle Machines asked me to bring it out to an article they were doing, muscle cars versus muscle trucks. And somebody had told them that mine was close and that it was one of the cleanest around. So they called me, and so we made this plan. And then we made this plan that we were going to keep it stock, but just do some like trickery, like the porting of the turbo and stuff like that, because it was still stock. And we were just trying to, you know, it had run a 13.3 at 100 bone stock full weight. So we figured this thing could probably run at 12 and be really impressive for this article. So we scramble to get it together. We borrowed a truck and a trailer. And the night before we leave, the guy with the truck and trailer is like, I can't give you the truck and trailer. You guys are going to have to drive out. And we didn't have a turbo gasket. So it was, so we made one, and we had to drive the truck out. So we're driving the truck out, and we're trying to tune on Diacom while driving to Maine, or they were just past New York. I forgot where the hell it was. I forgot what the racetrack was called. But so me and Damien get in there, drive it all the way out there, splash a little race gas in it just to be safe, and realized that by the time we got there, we really had the truck was acting completely different. There was nothing we could do about it. And then once we got there, we realized that there's just oil pouring out of the bottom of the truck. The turbo gasket had like cut itself a little bit, and the whole truck was coated with oil. And we cleaned it up as best we could. And I think the best it ran that day was like a 13.6. And it was a mess. It was a shit show. Truck looked good. And I forgot what they staged me up against. Whatever we were running against, we beat up on all day long. But it was still like, we're like, this truck is so much faster than this. And yeah, then we realized that it was pouring oil out everywhere. So we like literally left the track, bought like a 6-pack of oil, and drove it home. Like, why did we do this? We should have just left it alone. And then yeah, put a gasket in it. Realized that we had the boost set down too low. And once we dialed that in, the truck was even faster. It was great, but it was too late. But it made it for a nice article and took some really good pictures. Yeah, let's do this. We got 2 days. Sure. So that's probably one of them. The girlfriend driving the Gerber truck home from nationals. See, I don't know if I qualify that as stupid. It was just
necessity.
It was a necessity, you know. But yeah. Necessity to help a fellow SyTyer to bring their Syclone home in my trailer and give the keys to the 14,000 original mile, 700 horsepower truck to your girlfriend and say, just try not to go too fast. And I think she has more miles on that truck than I do from that trip. She drove it. She drove it 120 miles or 140 miles. And said it was the most nerve-wracking miles of her life because she was so worried that something was going to happen and I'd be mad. As I see her walking away from the whole crew of us following her because the truck just wouldn't go under 70. So, yeah, those are the ones that come to mind. Lot of hilarious activities with groups at events.
Oh yeah,
I think those were the not so much. I think the stuff we did together in a group was way dumber than anything we did with trucks.
Yeah, I mean,
sorry, Ryan Wheeler just posted he's watching us from the delivery room.
Oh,
that's awesome. What nationals was the Bush incident where people were
Bush swimmer? That was Chicago.
Yeah,
that's what I thought. And wasn't Adam was a part of that bunch, wasn't he?
Yeah. Me and Adam reenacted it at Bowling Green in 2009 or whatever it was.
That was the year Harmon rolled up with his Duramax with the triple wedge trailer with all the trucks on it and crap like that.
Yeah. Speaking of dumb things, and this is not the only dumb thing he's done, but Michael King spray painting in that damn hotel room.
Oh,
was a stupid thing to do.
Finishing carbon fiber parts in the hotel room bathroom.
Yeah.
The whole floor smelled like clear coat. That's all you could smell.
Oh my thing. That wasn't that wasn't Chicago. That was years later.
That was
Bowling.
Yeah, it was Bowling Green.
That was Bowling Green 2013?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The whole floor smelled like clear coat. And I remember seeing him at breakfast the next day, and he looked like he came out of a zombie movie. Like he was like covered in paint and like clear coat, and he hadn't slept all night, and there was definitely a lot of fumes. And yeah, what were you doing? What's that?
He was glossy. Like he had a finish to his skin.
Yeah, because he was clear coating carbon fiber parts in the hotel bathroom.
Yeah.
Speaking of bathrooms at Nats, that did happen at Chicago. Was Renz going out there without a hotel room? I don't think he had a truck at the time, or he had one, but he didn't bring it. Or maybe he did bring it.
He brought his truck.
Did he bring his truck?
Yep.
He didn't have a hotel room, so he ended up sleeping in somebody's bathtub.
Yep.
For the entire duration of the event, I think, unless he did find a bed at some point. But night number 1 was definitely spent in a bathtub.
Yes, and wasn't there another Nationals where somebody got a key to his room and a pile of people broke into his room while he was sleeping and videotaped it?
Yeah, we didn't have shirts on.
Yeah.
That was us. That was me and Harmon and Ian and Adam.
That was probably Bowling Green then.
That was Bowling Green because he pushed out and wouldn't stay in the parking lot and party with us. So we went and woke him up. He was angry. God, he was angry.
But that video was fucking epic.
Yeah.
Chicago, that was Brian Green surfing on the ironing board from the hotel in a shopping cart through the parking lot.
Mm-hmm.
What else? And then prior to that, as we were discussing earlier, the early years of Nats with stealing everybody's license plates or turning them upside down, disconnecting everybody's fuel pumps as everybody slept in the hotel.
Jumping the fire in the parking lot with skateboards, and the hotel management got onto him about that.
Yeah.
Putting stickers all over the elevator too. That whole thing was just gobbled up with SyTy stickers.
Yeah, and then that was an ongoing thing to see if some of them were still there years later at Doubletree.
Yeah.
I think trying to have an autocross event in the hotel parking lot at Nationals had to be. We thought we were being really resourceful, and it was probably pretty dumb.
Oh.
We've all been on doing something though that weekend. I brought all that equipment, all them cones. I was like, I am not lugging this shit back for no reason. I sweet talked that girl at the front. I was like, please just let us. We won't go over 20 miles an hour for a moment.
We won't. Harmon.
It'd be very docile, and then Dennis gets out there and just smoke show.
Yeah, smoke show and cone demolition derby.
Yeah, I had borrowed those cones from the Atlanta region, and a few of them came out and they're like, "This one's destroyed." I was like, "Just stack another one on top of it. You won't see it."
Nothing to see here, folks.
Yeah.
Oh man,
there's been plenty of dumb shit at events. I mean,
yep.
Even just some of the fishing stories from everybody going out, at night, coming back, doing dumb shit.
Now that used to happen in Kansas City in the early days before everybody was cool just sitting around talking in the parking lot. A lot of guys would go out and try and find the local race scene. And somebody would come to us. I remember just being in the parking lot and a car would roll through and they'd be like, hey, head down here or whatever. So that seems to be lost now at most events, probably for good reason. But back in the day, that was something that was a pretty big part of it.
Yeah, I remember Chicago Nationals. I didn't know anybody. I only owned my truck up 3-4 months. And I remember just somebody rolled through with an Eclipse with the headlight missing. And everybody got after him. And I don't remember the guy's name. He had a stock Syclone, but it was all lightened. And he was missing a couple fingers. Remember that guy? And he would drive the truck with 2 fingers.
Nah, I'm drawing a blank there.
And we went out to this race spot, and Brian Green was there. And somehow I tagged along, and all his buddies rolled up, and Nolan and Tony were there. And it was like a shit show because they set up a race, and then all these guys were out their trucks and just try to set up a whole bunch of races afterwards, and then just found a street, and everybody would just go and race for money and shit like that, and come back and try to make a new plan and then go back out to that spot.
Wasn't everybody trying to orchestrate some big money race, street race with McCoy's truck that night or something like that?
Yeah, because that kid they ran the Eclipse, and then they knew somebody with a higher horsepower car, and they were trying to get McCoy to bring his truck out and race him on the street and everybody was pooling money together, and McCoy was like, "Yeah, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that."
I remember seeing him get out of the truck the first time, and I was like, "Jesus, did you even look at it before you bought it? Like, how the hell do you fit in that thing?" About 6'8".
Oh man.
Let's see what new comments we got brewing.
Let's see.
Vinny Yurdy had a pretty good comment. At night with the front prop shaft out, moving at about 30 miles an hour, laid into it and left about 100 feet of rubber. Unmarked state trooper right behind him.
Yep.
The funny thing is, at night, if you do it two-wheel drive, you will swear you destroyed your transmission because the RPMs will go through the roof and the speedo will not move.
I remember my prop shaft went bad, and I had to go on a trip for work, and I ended up driving the Typhoon. I was like, it'll be fine without it for a couple hundred miles, and I forgot it wasn't there, and it was wet. And I came around this curve and just drifted the whole thing. And I was just like, what the? Oh, shit, I don't have all-wheel drive. And I was like, wow, this is pretty cool.
Oh, my God. Jason Shellhammer just posted the end-all, be-all of crazy shit at Nats in 06 when the Swedes came over.
Oh,
and
shit.
They bought that fucking fish.
Yeah, Surströmming or whatever it is.
Yeah. Oh my God! And friggin' Vinny Cox ate some. I remember that. Holy crap! I totally forgot about that.
Jeff Scott put a picture up of it.
Did he?
Yeah, on the Facebook group.
I haven't come across that yet. Jason just posted it, and
on the Facebook page, Jeff just posted it like 3 minutes ago.
Oh, and then he added to that, I had my truck 2 weeks, boost launched it in front of a crowd and almost kissed a pole and a curb. Boy, did I look stupid. Yeah, that happens.
Yep.
Before you pass the torch to all the Mustangs.
Yeah. Do you guys remember the no Mustang magnets?
Yep.
I have one on my toolbox.
Oh man.
Just the whole Robert and everybody coming over from Sweden. That whole year was just an epic episode of shit talking and craziness leading up to that weekend.
Yeah, who was the guy that was it Bully Syclone?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Bully Cy, and then Michael and his wife came out for that event. Friends got her to come out, so that was awesome to see. There was just so much crazy stuff going on that weekend. Cam, I think, was down. He drove down from Canada with his red. There was a lot of people at that event just because of the whole Bully versus Robert saga that unfortunately didn't materialize into a whole bunch of stuff. And it was still nice to see them, come over and ship the truck and go through all the hoops that needed to be jumped through in order to get the truck over here in time. And
time, money, that is pretty crazy to take your 9-second, 10-second truck, put it in a container to bring it over to go racing with a bunch of clowns in the States.
Yeah, for a weekend.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember.
He kind of does the same shit now. I mean, he's going crazy for all these events all over Europe, basically.
Yeah, but you're a lot smaller than the United States.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the whole shipping it overseas is a whole different level. But, I mean, he still does crazy stuff and drives endless hours to go race for a weekend. And most of the time or some of the time breaks and doesn't get more than a single pass off and then trucks all the way back home. So at least he got to run out here and the truck never broke. So that was a plus for him.
Yep. Still, mad props for that much effort. And then, I know Jeff Scott was helping me, was unloading it, trailering it for him to pick it up and driving halfway across the country to do that. And
yeah, Jeff orchestrated most of that. And I'm guessing it came in through Newark. I mean, I got to imagine it came in from here.
I think it did. I think it came in from the East Coast and Jeff came out and got it. And
Because I remember him asking me how close I was, and I'm about an hour or so from at least the ports anyway. I mean, to get to the airport, I could probably get there in just 45 minutes, but to get into wherever the heck he had to go. But yeah, that was a whole crazy thing in itself.
Yeah, just even think about doing that. Nowadays we're all like, it's far, I don't want to drive, I don't got time, and kids and this and that and the other thing, and it's like, I'm gonna ship my truck to a different country and go racing for 2 days.
Mm-hmm. Somebody try to use that to draw a bigger crowd. It's like, Christ, this dude can ship his truck from Sweden, and you can't even come from like 300 miles away.
Yep, no excuses.
Somebody said on YouTube, and it might be Jeff, I can't remember what truck number he has, but said Baltimore. It must have came in Baltimore.
Okay.
Jeff's is 1295, I believe.
That's him then. It was Ty 1295 posted that.
Yep.
Oh, you know what it was? It was the I think when they were coming up here for the GMHT event, they were coming up for something. It probably wasn't Newark. I just remember him coming through with a truck. Maybe he was towing Joe's Typhoon at the time. I know he was up here for that event.
Yeah.
Just mushing everything together in my brain over the past 20 years of SyTy crap.
Oh man, I don't know. Any other notables? I love everybody that's posting and commenting. It's definitely bringing up a lot of memories.
Yeah, Jeff Scott tried to catch a bottle of ATF falling down by radiator thumb into electric fan switches. Shortly came after, just a few hours from super gluing Mike Hardman's forehead back together. Don't
we
even know what that's
like, Dabney at the strip club. I had never been around Dabney for very long, and we went into this. They played that song "I Want Candy," and this girl came out, and her name was Candy, and auction off her panties, and you had to buy a ticket, and they would just throw it in a tumbler and pull out a ticket. And Dabney, I don't know, he was hell bent on getting them, and he went up and just said, "How many tickets are on the roll?" And they said $250. Here's $250. I better win those damn panties. He bought the entire roll, and she just took them off and handed them to him. And I was like, damn, he's like really got a thing for panties. But he'll have one if he was in here. But this was down at a Florida meet. There was some crazy kid. I can't remember his name, John, I think, but he was destroying his truck. He was losing his mind, and girlfriend breaking up with him or something like that. And they went out to a strip club with him, and he asked somebody to come pick him up. And he was making a phone call with a pack of cigarettes. He had it to his ear, and he was screaming at whoever he thought was on the other end.
That was not this past year, the year before.
Was it?
Yeah, because I went down for the Florida meet this year, and they told me that story.
Yeah, he was screaming at a pack of smokes. Thought he was on his cell phone.
Yep, he thought he was on his cell phone, and everybody had taken his phone and his money and his keys away from him, and he didn't even know that he was talking to a pack of cigarettes. Yeah. I did meet that guy too.
Yeah, and Gary made him sleep in his truck, didn't he?
Yeah, Gary was not very pleased, and he wanted us to tone it down this year, except we went too far, and he said we worked too much this year, so we got to find a mix for next year. So we're SyTyers. We go to extremes.
Just reading through, Jordan Fulton goes, I currently have nitrous on my Syclone without a standalone ECU. Sean Morris replies, I did that in 1995. Jordan replies back, I couldn't drive in 1995.
And then you read that and you're like, shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Funny crap.
Oh man.
Oh, I came across the picture that Jeff posted of that rotten fucking fish. Oh my God, that filled the parking lot. Oh, Sean just reported the same thing. I smelled awful from the other side of the parking lot. It did. That crap is like skunk in a can. Holy crap.
The other strip club initiation story that I thought of was at 2013 Bowling Green Nats, where we were all hanging out in the parking lot, and Harmon was bent on going to church. And Matt Quinn had flew in from California, and he had never been to a strip club. And Harmon took just Matt with him and went to strip clubs in Bowling Green, which, use your imagination isn't the prime clientele of what you'd hope to take somebody to for their first experience. And I remember him coming back. They came back in like an hour, and it's like, you guys are back already? And his face was just statued the rest of the night. I don't think he said another word or did anything. And Harmon was just like adamant that he was going to show this kid a good time. And whatever happened, he was like, didn't say a word the rest of the night and just like went to bed. And the next day we all were like, are you okay? Like, what happened? And Harmon just laughed the rest of the night.
Did you take him to a female strip club?
Yeah. I was going to say, why would you ask that? But very appropriate question given the crowd. Yeah. That was, and while they were gone, we were busy filling up. Tyler Stevens from Canada had brought down his white Syclone. That literally was like the first time I had been to a meet like together and running and driving, fresh out of this ridiculously mint paint job, and they were filling up his bed with empty beer cans. No, Tyler was the one initiating it. Like, yep, whatever, and was just throwing his empties in there, and then everybody followed suit. And the next day, there was just a mound of empty beer cans in the bed of his Syclone.
What was the when we started the eggplant thing? Remember Bad Ian, and who was the dude that hurt one of his nuts at Bowling Green? Remember that, Morgan? It swole up like the size of an eggplant. He was going around showing it to everybody.
I remember hearing about it. I
Yeah.
certainly never saw it. That's for damn sure. But
I didn't see it either. I avoided that one, but I do remember it.
I remember hearing something about somebody, but
Yeah.
just like that two-fingered guy, I don't recall that either.
We're going back a ways.
Yeah.
We're going back a ways. So, well, we're over an hour here.
Yeah, definitely.
I think we should wrap it up because I think we could probably. There's only 3 of us, and we can still go all night. If Harmon and Adam were in here, I can only imagine the other stories that would come out.
Yeah, it's just making me miss nationals.
Jeff just mentioned Jesus climbing the light pole. I mentioned that earlier in conversation.
I don't know if we were on air at that point, but yeah, definitely Jesus fucking climbing the air.
He did nunchucks in the back of the truck too. And that was wild.
Yeah, and he was wearing what, cut off jeans.
Daisy Dukes, yeah.
Yeah, and no shirt. Long ass Jesus hair. That was what, 01?
Yeah, 2000 or somewhere around it. No, 01 was Great Bend. It was definitely in Kansas City, so 99.
Right, 2000 then. Yeah. Yeah, because 02 was Chicago, and then 03 was back in Kansas City, I think. Yeah.
Good times.
Yeah, I still miss that damn hotel. That was the greatest hotel for a meet.
Definitely.
Maybe some year we'll figure out a way to get everybody to actually have a national event again, but for the time being, I don't foresee it happening.
Well, for the time being, the local meets are picking up steam. So I guess in closing, there's meets coming up the next couple of weeks. There's the Buffalo SyTy meet this weekend,
Right.
in Otto Springville, 15th, 16th, and 17th. That's always a good time. More low key, more chill, but definitely a good time. A lot of OG and new owners show up to that. The following weekend, which would be the 23rd and 24th, there's the Chicago SyTy meet in Volo, Illinois. So if you're out in the Midwest or can make it out to that meet, check it out. I think they have all the details are in the Midwest SyTy groups page for that event. And then following up on that, there's the Carlisle Truck Nationals and the SyTys at Carlisle, August 3rd through the 5th in Carlisle, Pennsylvania. So that's turned into a nice big meet every year. And
Shooting for 75 trucks this year.
I would love it. I would love that happened.
Even if we just maintain the 55 from last year.
Last year we had 55, so if we can maintain 50s and up, I think we'll be in good shape. I know we were off to a great start. I haven't gotten an update on how many people are registered. But we're about just under 2 months away, and still plenty of time for people to make plans and get there. I know a lot of people are working on trucks. I know a lot of guys are putting their stuff together, so it should be hopefully be a great turnout. So.
Yeah, it's definitely a great time. Even despite the turnout, whatever it happens to be, it's always a good event to get to. So. Even if you can't bring a truck and you want to come out for the weekend or even a couple days, definitely talk to a lot of people because like I said, we had 55 trucks, but there was even guys last year that haven't owned a truck in probably 10, 15 years that just came out for the weekend to check out the trucks and say hi. So
yeah, that was I think one of the coolest parts about last year is some of the old school guys that had heard about the meet picking up steam and just making it out just for the day, just for Saturday, just to come see what's what and see old friends and meet some new people. So
even those that flew out from California.
Yep. Yeah. There's guys flying out from California. There's another guy that it wasn't last year, it was the year before, but he happened to be in Carlisle that week on business, and he extended his trip 2 days because he owned a SyTy, and he was from like Idaho or something, and was like, well, I heard about this. I figured I'd just meet some people and see some trucks. So it's been really cool. But that's what's coming up. So get to an event, join the Facebook group, join ISTR, and let's keep growing this community and bringing it home for the new for the 2018.
Yeah, whatever this turns into. So look for us again for episode number 4, probably in approximately 2 weeks or so. And if you got any topics that you think might be good to cover, you can always post them, email us, message us through Facebook, Instagram, whatever your flavor of choice is. And let us hear from you and see what we can turn into a good topic to discuss.
And check out the videos on YouTube. Previous podcasts are on there. The new ones are every 2 weeks, and they go live. So, it's pretty cool that we're getting the comments and the feedback on the Facebook and YouTube now. So, appreciate everybody participating and putting in their stories and comments and history to bring this all together.
And soon we'll, once we get into the thick of things, we'll start having some guests on. We can do multiples at a time. So even if we have something well orchestrated that we can plan ahead of time and everybody's got the same availability, that's always probably the hardest thing. As you can see, there's only 3 of us tonight due to conflicts in people's schedules. But we're trying to figure something out and get some sort of interesting topics going one night, maybe with a little bit larger speaking audience.
Well, and if we get some old school owners, OGs, this would be a good topic to revisit, kind of like SyTy event memories.
Yeah, we could fill up 5 hours probably.
Yeah. It'd be an anthology. We'll do a weekend session.
Yeah.
But thank you to everybody for participating and watching and commenting, and we'll see you all in 2 weeks.
Yep. See you then. Signing off.